Ja, god morgon. Nu kommer ni få en kort crash course på teknisk nivå av experter på Continua. Jeppe Bjerre från certifieringskommittén och Brian Reynolds från standardiseringsverksamheten. Varsågoda.
Anyone want to know about Continua? We have seats. Right. Technical sides of Continua. This is the fun stuff because this is where we make interoperability happen. And we hear everyone talk about we need interoperability and no one's really talking about how to achieve it. This is how we achieve it. It's the most important sketch in the Continua framework because it actually displays everything that is within the technical specs of Continua. And that includes the device to application hosting device communications and how to achieve those. That's the transport layers, for example, Bluetooth, Bluetooth Smart, Zigbee, USB. And the application hosting device side, how you collect all this data. Moving forward to see how we actually transport our data out into the real world, we have what we call the WAN interface, where you push it out usually over a TCP/IP line. But that's still just measurements being communicated. So that's measurements going from a home or a nursing home, a care facility, and sending it out to some form of service provider. That could be care facilitators, that could be patient monitoring facilities, and so forth. And moving up into the very big networks, we go into the health record systems, where you transfer entire health records in a CDA format. Now, there is a whole lot of documentation going into everything up here. But the good thing is you don't have to read all of it if you don't want to implement everything. So the most important step is actually reading the introduction. And the introduction is only about 20, 30 pages, and that will tell you exactly where to go look if you want to create a Continua compatible device. The sad thing is you can't get along with only the guidelines, because the guidelines are only a specification and an implementation guideline of the underlying standards. For example, if you want to create a pulse oximeter, and you want to run on Bluetooth Classic, so you could get the high bandwidth for streaming continuous pulse ox data, you would need to look into the IEEE 11073 spec, and that's a big one. And the worst thing is, it's not even the biggest standard in this section, because we all know IAG, HL7, those are big. But the good thing is, once you have parts of the 11073 down and the device specialization, there's nothing stopping you from propagating that onto a different device for different transport. You only need to change the device specification, specialization, and those are fairly easy. It's all underlined in the IEEE specs, where there's a section for every single device that you want to implement. And the Continua guidelines for the personal health device interfaces tells you how to implement that, which is you can almost follow it step by step, implementing the device, the components in the device that are required by Continua. So if you're making a standard configuration pulse oximeter, you just follow the guidelines. If there's something in the guidelines you're unsure of, you look to the standards that it refers to. So it is almost a step-by-step guide on how to achieve interoperability. And the best thing is, you can end up only doing this part of the whole network and have other people do the WAN interface, someone else does HRN, and then you have the entire interoperability loop that before was only available to the very, very large companies who could do the entire infrastructure in one go. Which means, if you are a small startup, you can actually contribute to this entire tool chain. And that is very, very nice. At least we think so. Moving onwards, there are a few caveats about developing this. The entire transport is based around the IEEE 11073, except one where you need to go the additional step, and that is with Bluetooth Smart, because Bluetooth Smart isn't directly 11073 compatible. But there we have something called the transcoding white paper, which basically tells you how you go from the Bluetooth Smart profiles, transcode your data into something that's 11073 compatible. So all data propagating in this section is composed of 11073 compatible messages. And that is implemented in both the Bluetooth stack, the USB protocol, the Zigbee health profile has it as well. So everyone's using the same data format regardless of what transport you're using. It's the same when we go up to the WAN interface where we use PCD01 messages spec'd by HL7. In the future, we are working on using fire profile messages, but that is not within the guidelines yet. But if anyone should be interested in looking into it, you can contact us and find out more on how to move forward at this point. Equivalently, on the HRN interface, we use CDA documents and PHMR records, where we send the entirety of personal health records that can be composed of everything received down here. So that could be that a service provider collects messages, monitors, assisted living sensors, that smoke detectors, fall sensors, and everything you could imagine to aid in the daily life of someone who would need a daily caregiver, where you could provide a system with alarms and all of that, and have them provide entire records of how people are doing, blood pressures over time, and some feedback. One thing there is to note about all of this, some of these standards come with quite a high price tag, and that's something we are looking into if we can mitigate. For example, the base spec for the 11073 standard, which is required, is around $250, $300 US. And then there's the problem that some of the underlying standards also cost money. And then you need the specialization, which is $150 each. And if you want to do an application hosting device that understands all of these specialization, you need all of these standards. And that is something we're trying to figure out how to go around, because if you want to do the full application hosting device, the IEEE alone will set you back around $1,500, $2,000. For a small startup, that's a lot of money. And that's one of the things we're trying to get about, because we want to make the entry to this entire ecosystem a lot more friendly, even for startups, because health systems shouldn't just be for the big companies who have way too much money for their own good. I mean, everyone should be able to provide this, because usually startups have some of the really bold ideas on how to do this. And that's where we want the Continua guidelines and the underlying standards to work in a very nice symbiosis, so you can just go and implement this on your device. It shouldn't be too difficult. Of course, you don't achieve interoperability super easily, so you have to have some knowledge of things. But if we can bring down the technical barrier for entry into this ecosystem, then we have a really nice system that's easy to use, it's not too expensive to develop for, and you can provide into the entire tool chain. Where before, I mean, you could provide your own system, and it's what we see everywhere. People create their own systems, their own apps, their own backends, and they can't communicate with anyone else. I've spoken with quite a few exhibitors here, and they all have very nice products, but when I ask them, how can I interface my systems with yours, they don't want to talk to me, because no one wants to share medical data. And we might as well just accept it, because that's what we're going to have to do. if we don't share it, then we have all of these silo solutions. Then we don't achieve smart living, smart care. Imagine if everyone, one company, had a monopoly on healthcare. Then they could do whatever they wanted. They control the back ends. Yes, you could buy into it, but if they don't want to play with you anymore, then you're just out. Plus, you're stuck with getting sensors from one vendor. I mean, is there one company that's the best at doing everything? No. Some companies are very good at making pulse oximeters, but they can't make HRN networks, so they can't interface to that. That is basically what we're trying to achieve. And I might be tooting my own horn, but what we've created in the guidelines is actually pretty good. It's very easy to read once you've read the introduction and understood how to go through these guidelines. And that's fairly rare for a standard. But bear in mind that the Continua guidelines aren't a standard. They're more a specification for how to use other standards. So we've standardized standards because who doesn't love standards? I think my time might be running out, Brian? Yeah, that was my 15 minutes. Learning how to implement Continua devices in 15 minutes is impossible. I spent 6 months reading through these standards, and there's still aspects I don't understand. Luckily, we have Brian Reinhold on hand if anyone has questions, and he knows every single standards because he wrote most of them. But that's it for me, Crash Course in Continua. If anyone wants to know more about this, we have a small stand at the very back. It's B0636? B0136. And you can come ask questions, and you can get in contact with us and how to get in touch with Continua people for your technical aspects and questions. We're very friendly and we love to help. And we don't have a price tag. Right. Michael, you want to say anything for the Nerd Hour? This is your event I'm hosting.
So I'm now a nerd too. Michael Strubin, I'm the program director for Europe of the Continua Health Alliance. About the price tag, yes, today, and Jeppe is free. Jeppe is a Continua certified expert for Continua. We make the Continua guidelines available free of charge. You can go to the Continua website. You can also go to the ITU website because we are, since 2013, a recognized official ITU standard. And at the ITU website, you can download them in actually 6 different languages. I don't think one of them is Swedish. So you'll have to do this all in English. We are a membership organization. We haven't found another way of how to pay for our resources, how to pay for graphic designers, how to pay for our administration and all of that. So nobody has come forward to just say, yeah, we find you so good, we want to give you $1 million or a couple of million euros every year. So we are a membership organization. We welcome new members. It used to be that we had just 2 different sizes for members that started at more than $6,000 a year. Today we have very special rates for SMEs, even for startups, that start at $1,000 a year. So if you're interested in that, please talk to me or go to our website and find out more about how you join. We'd love to have you. We offer not just more technical assistance, peer-to-peer support. We also offer networking opportunities so that you can meet other people, other vendors, other makers of solutions and products that tie into this ecosystem. And maybe you'll just find some future business partners in one of our events. Our next event is coming up, membership-only event is coming up in Amsterdam in June. We'll also have a presence at the eHealth Week that's happening in Amsterdam in June. So if you are going back now, ask some questions internally, tell people about what you've heard about Continua, and you want to know more, or you want to talk to Continua people, either call us, call me, call our membership office, write to us, or come visit us in Amsterdam. And with that, I think I'll... Okay, please.
You have a question?
I was wondering, could you comment on, do you have any certification process, or how will that happen?
That's actually one of the things I wanted to talk that I somewhat forgot or left out of my 15-minute presentation. The Continua guidelines is only one thing in the tool chain. Other than that, we have reference code of every device implementation that you can download and use. I don't remember if it's behind the membership wall. Is it open source, publicly available, Brian?
I don't think yet, but we're talking about it.
Yeah. So open source implementations might be coming for devices that you can use.
But they're already available for members.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's a very powerful resource to figure out how this is actually achieved, and you can download working solutions that you can use to create your own devices. The last thing, and probably the most important thing for this to work, is the test tool, which is also available for download. And that's the tool we use to make continuous certified products, because there's a whole line of test suites, test cases, to see if you've implemented all of this correctly. And if you have, you can run these test cases at home, and when you're ready to certify, you've passed all the applicable test cases, you send it off for certification, apply. A couple of weeks later, if you pass, you have your certificate. It's not a long process. There is a price tag associated that is dependent on what kind of device you've implemented, but there is an upper limit of, is it $8,000? Yeah.
But again, for new members, we throw in the first certification for free.
You can really see who's the salesman and who's the techie in this. If you're developing Bluetooth Smart, you can do some of it on your own and self-certify, and the max price tag, I believe, is $500 at the moment. And that is included with the first-year membership, I believe, for small companies, that is. So yes, we have a certification program, and once you've certified, you can put our little Continua stamp on your product, and that's guaranteed interoperability. We tested with other manufacturers' devices. A lot of us play around with the systems just to see if we've missed something. We haven't yet. So the certification program seems to be in a very functional state. Of course, you will always have issues with technical devices. You can't get around that. But when you run into that, we have the CCE program, which you can write us for free, and we will find out what the problem is and find a potential solution, and you don't have to pay a dime. See, I'm not a good salesman as he is. I don't associate price tags. Any other questions? Nope. Did I leave anything out, Brian? I left out a lot. Yeah, just a few minor details. That's how easy Continua is. This is half of it. All right. Is that it, Michael? Yeah. I think we'll close our session here. We had a bit more time, but if people already know Continua, we don't want to talk about it. Should you have any questions, we have our stand. Come talk to us, write us, call us. We're very friendly, well, most of us. All right, and thanks for coming.